For the minutes, the meeting started at 6:03. Does anyone have any question about minutes from the last meeting?
Oh, we need to do roll call.
Oh,
Commissioner Begor,
yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapaharam, absent, Vice Chair Rahram.
Yes.
Now, does anyone have any questions?
Present, no.
And for mine.
That sounds good. So, would you like to open oral communication?
Oh, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Great.
Postponements.
Oh, we need to do the vote. Commissioner Begor,
I abstain. I wasn't here for the meeting.
Commissioner Klein,
How am I to respond? Sorry.
To approve the minutes.
Approve, please. Yes.
okay. Commissioner Sapaharam,
I approve the minutes, thank you.
Vice Chair Rahram,
Yes.
the motion carries.
So, I don't believe we have any postponements. Unless, there are any items that you'd like to switch the order of that.
None from my end. Yeah.
I do. I was just wondering, since we're talking about the Public Safety Commission work plan, and we always keep the fire, fire chief and sheriff's office, can we have them go first and then we can go through the work plan? So if they have other plans, they can possibly get on with their lives.
Right, yes.
As we stand together to the work plan, we
Right.
dig in for hours and they're sitting there waiting. And we can't do justice to the work plan, and at the same time, we can't keep them waiting. So I thought if we
Right.
change the order.
That's a good idea.
All right, so we have a motion to move the report by the Santa Clara County Fire District before oral communications.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I was going to say, before the topic number 2.
Oh, before topic 2? Okay.
And if somebody from the sheriff's office is there, I would like that to be following. So I'll repeat this.
Okay.
So I make a motion to move 3 and 4 up before 2. And then continue from there.
All right.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, perfect. You have to take a vote?
Commissioner Begor,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapaharam,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rahram,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Vice Chair, if you'd like to open to oral communications?
Yeah. Any oral communications today?
We have one hand raised on Zoom chair.
Right.
Welcome, Sam Rao.
Yes, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I'm speaking on behalf of myself only. I'm requesting the Sheriff's Office to please increase the red light patrolling at 85 in Stevens Creek and De Anza and Stevens Creek. We are seeing a large number of red light violations at these junctions, so much so that the traffic backs up from 85 onto Stevens Creek and prevents the eastbound traffic from moving ahead on getting a green light and the Stevens Creek segment between 85 and the Blackberry Farm golf course backs up all the way to the golf course. We're seeing also a lot of traffic cutting through the city due to the 280 traffic being backed up. And so people seem to be taking the 280 footer exit and then driving through Stevens Creek. So I'd love for either commission to propose an agenda item to discuss what measures can be taken to prevent freeway traffic from cutting through the city, if there are any known methods from other cities that can be adopted to do that, or if the sheriff's office has any insights on that from their experience. But it would be something to look into, and particularly the red light violations. I'd love to see us implement speeding cameras and red light cameras. I have talked to the Assembly Member Ahan's office about including Cupertino in the pilot study, and that's a conversation I'm driving separately with them. I'm also requesting the city to pass a resolution to adopt speeding cameras and red light cameras, and I'd love for the Public Safety Commission to consider the same. We have a serious safety concern. We have a number of senior drivers that drive through the city, and especially if you are in a lane that your view is obstructed, you may not be able to see the red light violators. So this is a serious safety concern, and appreciate anything that can be done by the Public Safety Commission. I know you focus a lot on fire, and while all of that is important, but traffic safety is the most immediate threat that our residents face because of bad drivers. And we need tactical and immediate help from the Public Safety Commission and the Sheriff's Office to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no hands raised on Zoom and no speakers in person, Chair.
To close oral comment.
All right, yeah, there's no further oral communications. We can close oral communication.
And so we'll have the report by the Santa Clara County Fire District.
All right. Good evening. Good to see you here in this 2026 first session. We have a new public safety report. So I think that it's been a long time coming. Hopefully it's a little bit more interactive and have an opportunity to get into it. So there's a new chance to just provide some input if there's changes or modifications that you like, or anything else that we can entertain as far as some new ways of providing information to you. We'd be happy to receive that. So this one is actually in the form of a newsletter. So the first few pages are going to be basic information about what's going on. They will be things that essentially are the entire fire district, but it will relate to you in Cupertino because it will have some type of impact typically. I'll call your attention to let's see. So one of the things to look for is shaded fuel breaks, other work like that, because this area of Bowman Road, although it's not in Cupertino proper, it is in Saratoga adjacent. So any fuel breaks like that, those types of things, kind of give you a little bit wider perspective of the work that's going on in the hillsides, and then also maybe ideas for things that you might want to try to emulate here. In December, the not too exciting one, that was a transfer station. I'll mention something about that a little later, and moving on. We have the December 19th on Monday, that item there. So we have recruits that are going to go through they're going to be graduating on January 30th. So we have 10 recruits that have made it through the program to this point. Those recruits will be coming and cycling in, so they'll be working here in addition. So we are at that point, I think we'll be at full staffing. So you'll be seeing recruits that'll be coming in for their module test. They'll be scheduled here typically for 3 months. You have the 3 stations, so they'll be cycling in. Station 71 on Stevens Creek is one of the primary locations where they'll be stationed. So you'll be seeing some new faces from your fire service here. Page. All right. So typical breakdown is pretty much the same. We have a majority that are EMS calls, and then lesser to the structure fires, vegetation fires, those things. And this is for January 2026, or I'm sorry, December. Oh, the actual one. So for December 2025, the fire alarm incidents Usually because of rain and other systems will have some type of activations. Those things are pretty typical for us. Hazardous conditions, anything that would have been basically smells, things like that, medical. Once again, 210 for almost 70% of the call volume, and significant events. So we didn't have any for the month, but I did mention last session that there were a couple of fires that I would be telling you about in the future. So I wanted to provide you some information on the fires that happened on Dianza Boulevard. There was a structure fire that involved, basically it was a commercial building. It was a cinder block building with 3 businesses. It was essentially an entire loss, and we estimated the loss at $4 million. There was 3 storefronts. I think you probably have seen it, that's driving by. But as it turns out, that was fully involved. They went on to defensive tactics pretty soon in the event because it was a pretty well progressed fire when they arrived. And that fire is currently under investigation. We also had one incident on Fallen Leaf where there was a structure fire in an apartment complex. It was isolated to one unit and they estimated it to be a $400,000 loss. So that could be not just the structure, but the contents. So I just wanted to make sure that I made good on the promise that I mentioned, and I wanted to make sure you had some info on that. Next, the community education, Cupertino. We had a number of people that were contacted. So in the middle school, high schools, those numbers look so high in elementary schools because those include fire drills. So as we go through, we like to make sure that, especially through the end of the year, we try to make sure that we're hitting every single school. So as the school year starts, we focus on making sure that we're there. We see exactly what's going on. Everything at that point should be practiced. We try to give the administrators some time to get the school year underway, under control. At that point, they should have all normal operations running, and then we like to make sure that for the remainder of the school year, we know that they're in good shape and there are no needs. So that does account for a pretty big number there, or a large number of those. All right, so the graphs. So up top, we have monthly detail response. So that would basically be the normal breakdowns that you typically see. So to the left, the alarm arrived, or alarm to arrive. That is the time the phone call was made, and then to the time that the actual they set the brake and went to work. The next, the alarm to dispatch. So the time the call came in, the call processing time that they actually go through the process of taking in the information, and you'll see that this metric is running on a 2-minute time frame. So the call processing takes place, basic information comes in, so there is an overlap to the time that the rig is actually dispatched. So the crews will get the information while the call processing is still going on. So there is an overlap, and they'll give it in update en route. So that's how the system works. So and then also with the first arrive unit, this is the time for the unit, the first one to arrive on scene. And so if it's an EMS call, the standard basically is the advanced life support capabilities are arrived on scene, and that's when the clock stops. So you can take a look at those. One of the things that I like about this report is it actually doesn't really hide anything. It shows a lot more clearly that sometimes it does take a little while to get there, and there is an opportunity for us to look into it. So one of the things that we do look for, and we are held accountable from the county EMS agency, is how long it takes. So we have a call time frame, and if we do not make it, then there's actually potentially a penalty to be paid through liquidated damages. So with that, our standards are pretty much set, and you can see how we do. And overall, we do have a good response times within Cupertino because we have good station density and good crew density here. Annual responses below, so that is the cumulatives. You'll see that we have over for EMS, almost 3,000 EMS calls for the year. and the fire responses and totals. I'm gonna look into that one a little bit more and provide some more context and tell you exactly what does it mean for a fire response, because sometimes you'll get a fire call, but it might be a false alarm or a malfunction. So how they code it is one of the things that's important to know. So I'll be providing context for that as we get a little bit more used to this report. All right, and this is the breakdown by type. So this is a little bit, this is actually pretty similar. So the next two essentially are the ones that, they're a little bit more familiar. So this is essentially the breakdowns, but you can see a little bit more detail in terms of the frequency that we have. And then, the, number of incidents per year. So the really, probably the most valuable thing here is to see how do we track. So look for that 2 to 3% call volume increase. You'll be seeing that, and as development continues, you'll be seeing more. When it comes to higher densities, things like that, you're probably looking towards the next 3 to 5 years. You're going to see quite an increase in some of the areas that you've seen construction, as some of those projects are starting to pick up. And finally, this was an interesting one, and I actually like this one a lot. So, because of Christmas, it's one of the things that we're aware of is that people would have gotten e-bikes, other types of gifts and toys that would have that are powered by lithium ion batteries. Primarily lithium ion batteries are the ones that have the thermal runaway risk. So for those, there's a public information education sheet that basically says, hey, if you have some problems or safety tips for those particular types of tools, and I'll just indicate a couple things that I don't think a lot of people know, and that like any other product, and we know that the batteries, sometimes there are defective batteries. So people, I think, they get a new product or a new technology and think it's going to be flawless. So to pay attention to find out if it's acting unusual and what does unusual look like? Well, to the right, it says signs of a problem. So if it's charging or there's an odor, change in the color, if it starts to swell, leaking, or any other like odd noises. So this is an opportunity for us to help people better understand what they're actually looking for, as opposed to, hey, if you see something that's wrong. And then it also says, then take it, if it's safe, take it somewhere beyond an area where it might catch fire with something else. So this is actually one of the things that I do like about this page. It gives us a chance to tell you something that is new, fresh, and relevant for what's going on. And then to the right, you'll see that there are a couple of links if you want to learn a little bit more. So pay attention to what's coming out on this page, and this might be something that we could, you might try to amplify potentially for Cupertino. Your information that's coming through at its core will be specific to Cupertino, but the stuff that's coming out on the beginning and the end of this report will be something that you might have opportunity to leverage throughout the communities, because they're going to be receiving some of the same information. And then finally, there is an opportunity for you to take a look at community events, and there's a link at the bottom of this page. And so if anybody here is interested in having a community safety program event for preparedness or education, you can go to our website and you can request that. So this is something that will be available to anyone that actually receives this. I think that covers the new format of our report. I hope that was clear. And if not, ask some questions, please, and I'd be happy to take.
I love the format, by the way.
Oh, good.
It's really great. The on the page, second or page regarding the schools, said the total number is 700 for elementary.
Mhm.
Total number of attendees, I'm not clear on what.
It is the number of students.
That's the student.
So like if there were,
Okay.
one of the things that I wanted to look at, I actually don't have, usually I get a spreadsheet that tells me the breakdowns and I can tell you which schools. And so I'm gonna be requesting that in addition so that I can provide context. This is probably 3 schools.
Yeah.
Total,
Yeah.
maybe 4. But
Got it. That makes sense.
Actually, Lincoln has what, 500 kids?
Right.
That'd be just one
This is
school.
what I was thinking of directly, right?
the high school?
No.
Or-
elementary school.
Oh, the elementary, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yep.
just too, but the trainings that you were talking about, they're going to be assigned to Cupertino, is that?
Some of them will come through. So, a new, recruit firefighter, well, will come in, or a probationary firefighter will come in, and they'll get an assignment. So we have 3 shifts, and in Cupertino, one, two, we have 5 crews, so there are 5, so there are 2 rigs out of, more than, or there are more than one piece of equipment out of some houses. So with that, there's a chance for one of them or multiple recruits to be assigned a specific shift. Or, we have, since there's basically 10 that could potentially be assigned, you'll probably get 1 or 2. And just be
Okay.
working on different shifts. They have a skills book or task book where they go through, these are pre-designated programs that they have to go through in order to get certain core training. So it's intended really for them to become exposed in a very methodical way.
Mhm.
So they'll get onto an engine company that's a little bit different work than a truck company. They'll go into a truck, a rescue. So depending on what it is that they're gonna be, they'll be doing all of it once they're through probation, which is 18 months. So at that point, the expectation would be that not only can they work as a firefighter, but they'll be able to drive. So County Fire and Cupertino basically have driver operator is the first level. So everybody would be able to act as a firefighter, drive any rig that they basically encounter over that 18 months, and they'll have an opportunity to work on them.
So of the 10 trainings, did you say there were 10 trainings? We'll get
There are
that.
10 coming in this class.
Or one of them?
I'm sorry.
Cupertino get 1 or 2 of them?
It depends on the rotation, because we actually already have probationary firefighters
Mhm.
currently, and I would have to look at the roster to tell you exactly how many of them are
Okay.
on probation. So as a normal course, we have 19 stations. That's somewhere around 30, just under 30 rigs, different units. So with that, there's a lot of opportunity to spread it around. So 15 stations times 3 times 3
Okay.
shifts.
Sure.
Really how many work sites we really have. So you're definitely gonna get some.
I don't know how many.
And where they go, it just depends on training and where the operations division puts them.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have one more follow-up question.
Sure.
You got the chart up there that said the number of incidents per year,
Mhm.
21, 22.
Yes.
25. Interesting how every year it has been increasing. And did I hear you right that this high density duration is what's causing workers to reach?
So there's typically about a 3% increase. The thing that put us, like
Chart up?
that really pushed that number down was COVID.
Mhm.
So that's why you'll see at 2021, coming out of COVID, the number was very, very.
But that's interesting though. In COVID, nobody came out, so everything was, I mean, what was the,
But so a couple of things, people weren't actually, so the number of people that were sick with colds and other things like that. People were, the habits that they had,
Mhm.
from a general, uh, being exposed to anything other than really COVID.
Mhm.
That, there was a big change in that. Also vehicle accidents,
Mhm.
people going out and getting into, or having injuries from, activities or sports.
Mhm.
There were a lot of things that didn't happen during
Mm.
COVID, and those really did provide a lot of the calls that we have. So in our normal everyday life and just living, people get a lot of bumps and scrapes, and those are the types of things that we didn't see a lot of. So that really accounting for it. And then I noticed that with people home, the incidence of fires and things like that while people weren't home during the day, those types of things really didn't track as high a number. So you had a decrease across the board in call volume, and we probably took about 3 years to get back to where we were, and now we're there, and we're as if we had not had the COVID yet.
I see,
And
so the
then-
2025 number is really just what we used to be prior to COVID, like 20.
So, yeah, I think, so 2019 dropped, or, yeah, 2019 dropped, and I believe 2019 was right around, we hit it in 23. So we picked up where we left off. I think if I recall correctly, I can probably look it up, but we were at about 20,000, 21,000 is right where.
So as you get more people moving into Cupertino, you expect that there will be more of this.
Absolutely.
So then will you be staffed for that, or are we just being stupid and getting more people here and not being able to handle the
No, I would.
emergencies that can possibly happen?
No, that's a great question. I wouldn't say that, so one of the things about, the way the city and the things that I, at least at my level, get to participate in is our safety elements
Mhm.
and the general plans. So those things all account for the, potential of growth and some of the other things that are going on in Cupertino. And they take into account what's going on, in neighboring cities as well. So this last iteration definitely accounted for growth. There are a lot of variables that are considered, like in the for the wildfire. Your number of neighborhoods that have one way in and one way out. And they all pretty much will track to some either requirement, legislation, or other need that we'll have within Cupertino. And therefore, we take those, we analyze them, we apply them to the needs of Cupertino. You're involved in those things too. So, city staff, at pretty much all levels and, you know, even with law enforcement, fire, they ask us to get involved and we make our collective, comments and edits to those documents. And essentially what comes out of it is, what's our plan to deal with what we have? So we do have an opportunity to interject our current understanding of what is the potential growth, what's the planned growth, and then our multi-year projects. Those types of things are all accounted for. So as you get higher density projects, you will have some kind of accommodation for the greater amount of traffic, for the density of, you know, for us, we would really be focused on fire stations, how many apparatus we have. And then we are starting to, you know, wanted to take into account the location of those fire stations and the types of calls that we might be having. So there's a chance for us as contributing stakeholders to add pretty much everything that we can. And we will potentially need, it gets staff, and I'd say that in this last iteration, increased population and the transition of rural neighborhoods turning into high density neighborhoods. So you have two blocks or a block of single family homes that will soon be high rise, or two. That has been considered as one of the things that we need to be aware of. So we're planning out as far in advance as we can. So those things are being considered.
Okay, so just as a follow-up to that, has there ever been a situation where you have recommended that this is probably not a good idea? That a certain development may not be a good idea, given the location of it, or the, you know, the fact that you cannot get in and out of the neighborhood, things like that. Have you ever made a recommendation to say, this is not a good idea?
That's a difficult question because it's very subjective. So one of the things, the process for us essentially is this. We as the agency having jurisdiction for fire safety, and the implementation of the fire codes and local ordinances for fire. We take those, we apply them to any project that's submitted, and we say, these are your deficiencies. And that process basically says, you need to address these things. There are projects that cannot move forward because they can't meet that standard. We determine that it is insufficient and therefore not able to move forward without mitigation or without correction. There are projects that have been denied because they weren't able to meet the standard. So it's a bit more complicated than the way you presented it. There are a number of iterations, And it is dependent on the developer, the project owner, to be able to meet the intent of the standard or the code. And that's what we look for. So a mitigation could, if you have an access problem, then you have to have an access mitigation and it has to be appropriate. And that's in a nutshell how we verify. But so yes, projects have not been able to move forward if they weren't able to meet the standard. And a lot of them have been able to meet a standard, so they have been able to move forward. Um,
All right, thank you.
Or, yeah, so kind of a different question, like, I guess, regarding the recruiting,
uh,
10 recruits, like, mentioned it's gonna help staffing. I remember like last year, like, we discussed kind of like the sourcing pipeline for the sheriff's academy and that kind of thing, so I'm kind of curious, like, if you know kind of how these 10 recruits were sourced, like, are they out of school, like, were they in fire departments outside of the county coming in, or kind of what's the composition like?
So for us, we'll have a posting. The posting essentially, there's a pretty good network for firefighters or potential firefighters who are seeking new positions, and then there's a lot of movement between a fire department. Like you'll see people coming from either Cal Fire or maybe another jurisdiction. I myself came from a different fire department initially, so there is an opportunity for movement from one to another as you get to your destination department. So we also have a pretty open, we have an open door policy for most people who are seeking a career in the fire service. And there are a number of resources of both social media type or other traditional types. But we push out a posting and we typically will get a response. We have modified our channels and we have tried to figure out how to amplify those messages and trying to be as creative as possible. So we're extremely resourceful, and then we've also have taken a close look at recruiting in different areas. Sometimes the traditional focus was like sports teams and things like that, but we're not looking for that type of person only. We're looking for people who have potential. So if they're, a lot of them happen to have EMS backgrounds, or some of them have sporting backgrounds, but some of them come from private sector as well. I once again have also come from the private sector. So we have cast a pretty wide net, and we're always trying. I think we've iterated every year on every posting and tried to figure out what's the best way to get this message out to people. And job seekers, in fact, are much more regional than they used to be. So if you have somebody in Santa Clara County who's looking, we're looking throughout Santa Clara County. We're leaving a lot coming in from Southern California, some from out of state. So it just varies. And the thing we do primarily seek candidates that are paramedics. But we do have driver operator as our standard, which is different than some other departments. So there's an opportunity there to take people on, and they'll be an EMT as opposed to an EMTP or paramedic. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, sir. The new report is like very easier to understand, and I think it's beautiful.
Okay.
So I do have a couple of questions. So I think the metrics are great. I think when we look at the report, it looks great, right? So what are your like ongoing improvements of the targets, like for the response time enhancement, like for 2026, 2027?
So as far as so we're an accredited agency, which means that we're always striving for continuous. We just actually went through reaccreditation. So this is actually one of the things that we do.
Okay.
We did recently. So we have this, there are peer assessors that come in. We have our established metrics, and we provide pretty much metrics on just about everything we do. And this process basically takes months, and then it's renewed every few years. So with that, we take a close look at what it is, and then that allows us to take. So there are some standards that are recommended through, say, NFPA or some of the other organizations. But what we're doing is we're fixing our metrics based on our capabilities, our resources, and then we're stretching from there. And so for us, it would be primarily, we just did this, so you'll probably see that, rather than saying this, we're looking to get 90% of our arrival time at, 5.5 or 6 minutes. You see how ours is broken down, so it actually gives you a lot more clarity. So to track how we're doing and the different segments, then that's pretty much how we would end up kind of measuring ourselves on how we did. So the other thing we would want to make sure that we're doing is paying attention to the change in the environment. The call densities might be related to roads or blockages or construction or something else. Or, might even be a fire station that's under construction that has to close down for a little bit. So these are the types of things where there's a lot more flexibility. So this is also one of the things that's the most difficult as an accredited agency to answer, because instead of saying this is our baseline, my last agency did that, and so you can see where you were. But the granularity of this particular report, I think if you're looking at the 4 to 6 minute time frame for the total response time, that would be the closest analog that you have to a neighboring agency. So if you were to look at a local city department, they would be shooting for the 6 minute kind of time frame. And since we report on all of them, it would be cumulative. So I think we could probably look at it a little bit differently. If you had a specific question that you would like answered, I can look into it a little bit more if you'd like.
Yeah, I think it's more generic question. So I was trying to understand, like, is like, do you go with goals with like quarterly, yearly, or how it is? But I think you answered. Thank you.
Okay, great. And then the only other thing to take into consideration is there is a difference that I'll look into, but the density of the area. So if it's urban, we call it an urbanization code. So if it's considered over 1,000 people per square mile, it's urban as opposed to rural. There are a few different ways to calculate that, but Cupertino, for the most part, is urban.
So on the volunteer opportunities, like basically I'm trying to understand how the Public Safety Commission can help or inspire in these reports or some of the volunteer opportunities you may have. I want to hear from you, like what we can help.
Great, sounds good. That's actually why I said I like this page. For this to get traction and become, hey, what's the theme of the month? I think there's a great opportunity to amplify what's on this page through different social media channels. And then at that point, collaboration with the other West Valley cities might actually be a thing, so that we can come out and we can help support it in an event that you might request. So I think this is probably the one that the lowest hanging fruit that I see based on this report. Because I think when you start getting into the metrics and some of the other stuff, it may not be for everyone. But somebody that cares can actually get in here and take a closer look and see what they want to see, hopefully. But yeah, I would say applying what's on this very, very last page, at least from this report, would be a great way to start.
So or can we get this report in emails if possible?
Yeah, it'll be part of the not packet.
The presentations that are posted online.
Yeah.
Okay, so it will be included in the email, or we need to go and search on the site?
It'll be part of the posting on Legistar.
That is okay. Okay, if I need help, I'll reach out. Thank you.
We were a little late. This, like I said, this one just, the ink still went. It literally got released today. And this is the first of all of the Public Safety Commission or the forums that received this report of all the West Valley cities.
Thank you.
I guess open to the public comment.
We have one hand raised on Zoom.
Yeah, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and I want to thank the Fire Department for a very comprehensive report. I'd like to ask, what is the fire department able to do periodic inspections of the Lehigh Permanente quarry now that the quarry is shut down? What was being done previously when the quarry was operational, and what is being done now, either differently, hopefully in an increased manner, to inspect the hillsides owned by the Lehigh Quarry and the Stevens Creek Quarry, to be able to apply enforcement actions for fire management. I know we're getting a lot of guidance on protecting the properties, but our biggest concern is we are surrounded on the west and on the southwest by hillsides, and fires that start in those hills are not going to be contained by small actions that homeowners can take. So it's like a drop in the bucket for what the homeowner would be expected to do versus what we would want to do in the hillsides. So I'm really interested in how the commission can maybe follow up with the fire department chief on quarry related actions, maybe even get that on the agenda on some kind of cadence, maybe a monthly or bi-monthly cadence, to hear what actions are being taken about the hills and the quarry and what can be taken to more proactively do brush management, tree pruning, and any other actions that would help to contain the risk from the quarries. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to bring up really quickly is the fire code reviews for development projects. And again, I'm the chair of the planning commission, but speaking on behalf of myself only. So I know from residents that we've heard a number of concerns about fire code review, which I think Commissioner Bigger was bringing up as well. And in that context, I've heard residents reach out to the fire department with specific written comments on fire code review. And unfortunately, it seems like they're not getting any response back from the fire department, either in written response to written comments or by way of calls that are not being returned. So if the commission might follow up with the fire department chief on specific details of who fire comments should be sent to and what is the process for engagement. And if there is even a possibility to publish notifications so that the community can actually attend these hearings, just like they were a planning commission hearing, for example. That is my feedback. These are two top of mind issues for residents, so appreciate the commission following up with the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, San Rao. We have no hands raised on Zoom and no speakers in person, Vice Chair, sorry.
I just had like a quick question, like kind of following up on the from the questions earlier and stuff. Like, so if I understand it correctly, like members of the public can basically like investigate fire code compliance for like projects that are happening around them. Is that the way to understand it?
So for fire code compliance, those are all public records. So if
Right.
it was a records request that said, hey, we get them all the time. Well,
Right.
They say, for example, I want to have a record of all inspections or violations for this particular site. That is something that we do, and it goes through the normal process. And the timeframes are all adhered to as far as how those go through. They can go in pretty much to just about anyone, and for the I think everyone understands that within the department. So, but the best way to do it is to send it through if it's a fire prevention specific question, then going to the website and going to the fire, using the fire prevention email that's provided there would be the best, easiest way to get the clock started on that. And then if you're asking about projects that are in process, then there are certain types of information that if they're not finished, memorialized, or done, it'd be a little bit different process, because if something goes out in incomplete way, but we would communicate with anybody that asks for information. We typically try to do that. There was one incident, and I don't know if this is what the person from public comment was referring to. We had one request for information, or at least there was a position on a project that was coming in that we did not send out the message or the response to the it was a group of people, I think. We have since done that with our response in order to address all of the concerns and the different cited codes and requirements. That was actually a failure on our part. We had the internal answer crafted, and I assumed somebody else had sent it. And they assumed I sent it. So that was one that I was involved in. It is a Cupertino project, and that response should have been received at this point.
If we're
And-
gonna go deeper on this, we need to add it to future agenda setting.
Perfect. Sorry.
Alright, yeah, move on to the next item. I guess since the sheriff. Or, yeah, I guess we can move on to the next item.
So in December, I sent out an email requesting ideas for the work plan. This is not like the council work plan. This is more what things do you want to focus on? My recommendation is that you pick 3 of these projects or tasks so that in the 6 meetings that we have a year, 5 now, you can have a presentation on what the current situation is, and then at a future meeting, what follow-up has been done. The number is up to you, at the end of the day. But I am going to. These are the 6 potential items. I will say there were a couple suggestions that either weren't within the scope of the commission or have already been completed. So that's why they're not part of this list of 6. So what we want you to do is figure out what are your top priorities and what do you want to look at in the future?
So we are going to collaborate in this 4th meeting. And we, what, our top 3?
So I would suggest starting with a decision of how many you want to do. And then moving into which of these, if less than 6, which you would choose to do.
Yeah, I guess like, just off the top, I was thinking like 2 would be good, cause. If we want to like dedicate subcommittees, like it would probably work out quite nicely, like 2 subcommittees, like one working on each one, maybe. Whereas 3 might kind of stretch ourselves thin and like run the risk of like not actually achieving things in all 3. Yeah. 2 is a good idea.
I have a more basic question instead of going through how many we do. Can we actually just sort of zoom in and look at each one of these? Because some of them may be classified as something that can come together. So when you say Vision Zero traffic, if you go down, there's also the youth and something, proactive youth and school safety. They're all related.
So these are all fed by
I-
me.
No, I'm not trying to say that they are different, but what I'm trying to say is if you collapse them, then we will land up with 3 or maybe 4 items, and we do need to. I mean, then we have to go and say, okay, which has a higher priority? Because we can't just pick 2 or pick 3 and leave the rest.
I think we can, yeah, I think we
So,
can.
but to be clear, that if you don't select one of the tasks or projects, that doesn't mean it'll never come up. It just means we'll be prioritizing the ones that you select tonight,
Yeah,
You're prioritizing, sorry?
the ones that are selected tonight.
Prioritizing how? So we'll just put it on the agenda and discuss that. What about the others?
So if, say, you only pick one, then that will be the topic for the March agenda. And we'll prioritize that. We'll be working on that first until you're satisfied that the project is complete. And then moving to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I think like also we don't wanna like dilute one task or the other by trying to do everything at once either. I think like we should try to focus on just a couple like very distinct things, like two or three. I was thinking two, but three is also fine. Um, distinct things as opposed to trying to bind.
Okay, so if we look at, say, 2 issues per meeting, we have only 5.
So I think what we should do is, let's not talk about 2 or 3 or 5. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, just prioritize all of these and add few others if we can, right? And we'll say, we'll go with the priority, it is the priority 1. Once we're happy, then we go to the 2, 3, 4, 5. If I strike a priority 1 item, let's say that's all we are accomplishing in 2026.
Right. Doesn't
Leave it
make
there.
sense, yeah.
Okay,
Just let's prioritize.
sure.
And again, I think most of these, I think I entered. So I don't know if you have any other ideas we can add here now.
No, it's,
Oh, we have, okay, only all these things, okay. Okay,
Yeah, I think increasing alert SEC registration is certainly a very good idea, something I think we can all very tangibly like contribute to. I think there were some good ideas in Commissioner Sapaharm's email, like things we can do, maybe like flyers and library, that kind of stuff. That's something I think we can like definitely lock in on this year.
yes, I agree, I think, I agree that priority 1.
okay.
So let's go to the next one and decide the priority.
Expanded scam and fraud prevention.
I think, I don't know if this is the one that I mentioned or not, like, I think, I think I was kind of thinking like, feels like for the past decade, like cybersecurity awareness and training has like essentially been the same, which is not a bad thing. Like it was basically the same because the technology meta was like basically the same. Like don't, reuse passwords, that kind of thing. But it's probably the case now that there's like this new meta emerging, like fake videos, like fake stuff, like it's an election year. So there's probably like a new vector of threats that probably just take like awareness and like information to solve. So I was thinking like, I don't know if scam and fraud prevention is the right word, maybe like, almost like cybersecurity for like the AI age or something. I don't know.
So I recently attended the TICC meeting on the
Uh-huh.
cybersecurity, I think they did it in December or so.
Uh,
I think that was great. I think we should collaborate with them and with like this is very top in my priority also, because I've seen a lot of Nextdoor posts where like they're saying they're worried about some of the alerts they're getting. So I always give some tips what I personally think of, but I think we should collaborate with TICC, and between the 2 commissions, we should also collaborate with probably library commission and try to push the information that is really simple and can be useful to the Cupertino residents, especially elderly.
Speaking of working with TICC, the technology multiplication, the ALPR actually came out of the item number 4.
I don't know.
So that came out of the TICC because as a president, I was pushing TICC to have that. But this is something that is really of interest, and there are many more such, like one, the caller was saying, Sandra was saying, the cameras, the red light cameras, or the other camera, the speeding cameras that he's talking about. Those are safety issues we really need to look at. But we can't do that on our own because the Technology Commission is who decides what exactly the equipment we have to get. So that's another collaborating idea that we have to. So we might want to park those 2 as high priority. However, we need to have that commission work with us as well.
So we need a lot of collaboration and
We
time.
need, yeah,
So for example, I sent a couple of emails to Library Commission, they haven't responded, probably they're going to review in their next meeting or they may need to follow some process, so you're saying it may take longer? So you're saying let's push it a little down and.
no, I'm not saying push it down, I'm saying have a separate column that says we need collaboration. So we
With
have
other-
to actually
other
put it on the agenda
commissions.
saying, do we get the chair of the TIC to be on our meeting, or do we go to their meeting? And figure out how we can get something established between them, because we're working in
Silos, yes. I think that's a good point. I think maybe we can add a column saying that we need multi-commission collaboration and put a tick mark there, so.
Okay, so for right now, just assume that it's a perfect world and just what do you want to see first? Or
Oh,
in this case.
Just finalize the priority first, okay. Yeah, but I think that's a great suggestion. We should address it later.
So I guess maybe like the third item would be like like speeding cameras and red light camera technology for traffic safety. I guess would that be like a good characterization of like a third item?
Yeah, I think that's what third says, right? Like, this basically following the already existing Vision Zero strategy, which is adopted by the city. So I think now we need to make it into crisp action items, like, okay, we'll put it in the, let's say we add it to the, if May isn't or whatever, right? So we come up with the crisp action items that we can recommend to other commissions or the directly city council, and including the speakers input like what we heard from Sam talk today. So I think we can collaborate and make it more crisp. I think that's also an important topic. So are you Vice Chair, are you suggesting that we move the 3 to 2?
I mean, I think the first two are quite good in the sense that I think like our commission itself is like quite capable of achieving things in those two. I guess maybe like the folks who supplied the like 5 and 6 maybe want to like make the case. I think that might be like a good way of seeing like evaluating the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I put the priority based on what I felt. So this, I actually like to.
Honestly, I like the priority 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
The 3 and the 4 can be, if you want to continue with our vision of zero traffic issues, the 4 falls as a sub topic of 3.
Yes.
So then we look at the top 3,
Mm.
which is the alert SEC, the, AI, the effect of AI on, general life.
Yeah.
So cybersecurity in the world of age, yeah, exactly, as you said, AI age. And the vision, that's 3 with the subheading of, okay, how do we tie? Again, even for the AI, we may be able to tie in with the T. So it looks like we need to work very closely with the TIC mission regardless, but that's separate, so we'll do 1, 2, 3. And 3.5 for the technology part, so.
All right, so are we deciding to keep the order as is?
Yeah, so I-
1, 2, 3, 5, 6?
I mean, I would vote to have the order the way it is,
Yeah.
if anyone has a different,
I also agree. I mean,
Yeah.
you put it together, so yeah.
I don't want any changes, but
Yeah,
let's hear from.
sounds good.
Yeah, I agree with.
You have
everyone's
no-
opinions.
okay.
So keeping as is, but we're clarifying that this does include AI.
Yes.
And we're also
Yeah,
saying
it
that,
stands.
that the 4 is actually part of 3.
Okay. Okay.
So when should we add another columns? Shashi requested that multi-commission.
We're not doing that bit right now.
Okay,
That's as we get into the specifics
okay,
of these topics, as we get closer to the meetings that are focusing on these topics,
Mhm.
then we can get into the specifics.
okay.
So what do we do now? We just,
So a motion and a second and a vote to say, yes, this is the order that you are prioritizing.
okay, so I make a motion to have the order as specified right now, with number 4 being a subtopic of number 3.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Begor,
Yes?
Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapahara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rahman.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. All right.
Any public comment?
We have no hands raised on Zoom and no speakers in Vice Chair.
Cool. Yeah, we can move on to the next item.
Okay. So since we don't have the sheriff's office still, I'll pull up the staff update. Oh, can we make a? Oh, okay. Motion to not fill in. Yeah, the sheriff's office. Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to say that we won't be doing the sheriff's report today.
Motion that we won't be doing the sheriff's report today.
Seconded.
Commissioner Begor,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapahara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rahman.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. All right. You guys have noticed by now I like to keep these short. For volunteer activities in the last 2 months, CARES, which is the Cupertino Amateur Radio Emergency Services, had their general meeting on the 4th. And the Lawson Ark, which is one of the locations that has supplies for emergencies, had an open house for Citizen Corps volunteers to make sure that they were familiar with how everything was laid out and what exactly is in there. And finally, we had a block leader meeting yesterday, on the 7th, excuse me. No, on the 6th, I'm sorry, on the 6th. And that had a presentation from the sheriff's office, kind of doing a year in review for 2025 and then discussing crime prevention, that he's given the same presentation here about preventing fraud, how to keep your home safe, ways to deter potential theft. And that was our January meeting, and the next one is depending on the availability of the speaker, either in March or April, and I will make sure that you all know about it. Finally, I don't know if any of you noticed, but we had some rough weather in December. So there were daily briefings that I was participating in between the 19th and the 26th every morning. Our emergency operations center did not activate. Thankfully, we never had anything happen that would require us to activate. And the county emergency operations center remained at duty officer status. What that means is the duty officer at the time is still alert and looking for anything happening, but we're not building up to have, okay, bring sticks, bring someone in for management, bring someone in for this. So this is, I wouldn't say it's the lowest level of response, but it is, I guess you could say, the blue sky daily expectation is there's always a duty officer on duty. And I'm very thankful there were no lasting impacts to Cupertino. We did lose power quite a few different sections and quite a few different times in Cupertino. But fortunately, power was able to be restored fairly quickly, considering. So we were very, very lucky. Santa Cruz actually got a inclement weather warning of tornadoes. That there was a possibility of tornadoes. So that was a fun text to get from friends in Santa Cruz. I will also say Valley Water is part of our responses here. So they immediately, I want to say on December 16th, were preparing sandbag pickup locations. They have quite a few of those, and they actually do something that I personally think is brilliant, that they have live streams of some of their sandbag locations, so you can check and make sure, okay, if I'm going to drive over to whichever sandbag location, do they still have some for me? The city also prepared to have sandbags, but I don't believe there were any requests for them. So right now, most of what we're looking at for the December storms is it was not fun, it was not pretty, but it was not as bad as it really, really could have been. And then moving to January, National Weather Service designated a major risk due to cold. That'll be tonight about 1 AM to 9 AM. Some of you may have received an email from myself or the communications office with information about where to find shelter if needed. That's provided by the county, or what to look out for in cases of hypothermia. A lot of times people look at messaging when it's cold and say, "Are you kidding me? Just put on a sweater and turn up the heat." Unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are unable to do that for a variety of reasons. And what some research has found is that there is a demographic subset that just refuses to turn on the heat. They will not do it, and it doesn't matter that we've sent out an advisory. So part of what the message to the volunteers was, I know it sounds silly, but please go check on your neighbor. Please make sure that everyone's all right. One of the interesting things about, I'm gonna get nerdy for just a minute, but the surprise. The way that the risk is designated specifically for cold came from agriculture. So originally, when they said there was a major risk, it was to let farmers know that there was a risk to crops. That has changed. It is still an element of the designation. But at this point, when we're talking about major risk, it is also to people, pets. And then one of the things is because it was designated major risk by the National Weather Service, that triggers our inclement weather protocol. So that was why the messages came out, not just through social media, but through the volunteers, through the delivery. I don't believe there has been any talk of an alert SCC message going out, because it doesn't quite reach that level. But this is one of the ways that the city has adapted over the years. When we created the REACH program, it was specifically looking at, okay, if we have a major risk, okay, we can send out a newsletter, but if not everyone is signed up, then how do we reach people who we aren't traditionally reaching? And finally, we have continued our partnership with the West Santa Clara Landscape Resiliency Project. Right now, we're going through the review process of looking at the proposals and making sure that everything they're doing lines up with our expectations. So, for example, if they have a recommendation to thin trees, we're making sure that there's something in there saying, in Cupertino, these are the requirements to remove a tree. Just so that, because the project is also available to private landowners, not just the city, so that people aren't getting a nasty shock to learn that, no, you need a permit to take down that tree. So it's slow, but it's interesting. And we are seeing a lot of variety in the suggested actions. So not just removing trees, but also in some cases prescribed burns. And also, herbivory, which is where we get sheeps and goats to come in, and eat up potential fuel. So I'm gonna try and keep giving updates on this project as it goes. And then finally, we've had some concerns. I believe it was a YouTube video originally, about flock cameras and, a YouTuber accessing a lot of information as well as live feeds for different types of products that Flock offers. So right now I'm looking into it and our innovation and technology team are also looking into making sure that Cupertino is not having information exposed and what level of risk it is, what we can do, and what the expectations are. I will say that in this case, it is the sheriff's office surveillance policy that all of this falls under. So for more information, we're looking at their surveillance policy. But this was part of the ALPR installation. This was the discussion that was had about the security, and it goes kind of into the cybersecurity, but also into making sure that when we select a contractor, we're selecting our best option. So I'm also very lucky to have Tom's notes to go back and see what he was saying and where this decision came from. And as this develops, I will update as well. And finally, as I do every time, reminding everyone to please sign up for Alert SCC.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, actually, yeah, just if you can keep those slides back on, because it's easier to ask questions when they're right in front of you. Go ahead.
Mine is a general question, actually. The block leader meeting from 2 days ago, was that recorded? And
It is not.
wasn't, right? Yeah.
So the presentation that the sheriff's office gave, it was sent out to block leaders and neighborhood watch. But, we don't record the meetings.
Can we put the slides back on? Somebody else has.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with the first one. I have a couple of comments with regard to the first. Yeah, so it would be very interesting when you give us these updates to maybe have a link that shows, whatever that sheriff's department presentation was, if there is one, because this is information that if I were to read the slide, I don't get very much of it. So I would like to see like some meeting minutes of a general meeting or what were 3 lines about the highlights of that open house or some kind of presentation about block leader program, that sort of thing. So that gives me a little bit more information. And if somebody were to be concerned about, for example, that was a very good meeting, I'm told. I wasn't able to attend it, but that would be very nice to get that presentation. And people can look at it. Apparently there was a lot of participation. And it would be nice to have meeting minutes for that kind of thing. I know they're not recorded, but it'd be nice to get a meeting minutes and such that.
We don't do meeting minutes for block leader meetings.
Uh,
They're not that formalized.
maybe we need to, have such a formal, so especially when you have a lot of, feedback from the population. We want to capture their concerns. We want to capture their ideas. We can, everybody cannot be there, but it may be interesting for us to have a work plan that says, okay, here were the 3 ideas that came out of the block leader meeting or something that we can possibly implement. Maybe nothing came out of this one, but going forward, it would be useful to have something like that. Anyone else has any comment?
Yeah, I just had a kind of a random question, like, I remember last year, like, we were hearing and like you mentioned how, like, I think, is it like NOAA or like National Weather Service, like there was some, like sensors or like some things being turned off or like not being staffed appropriately?
That I'm
The federal funding cuts.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
that confirmed. I believe everyone in National Weather Service is designated as essential personnel. So if you're referring to the shutdown, they were still working.
Or I remember like last year, like I think there was a mention like I think like off the coast of the bay, there's like a lone like beacon or something that's like the
Yeah, I
early
remember
warning
that.
system. I'm just wondering like whether there were any impacts to like our forecasting ability or like whether there were any like gaps in visibility due to
Okay.
anything at that level.
Not that I'm aware of, but
Okay.
I can ask.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is great. I think I even got the reminder. I couldn't get into the block leader program, but I got a couple of reminders, like I think in the mail of when I accepted the invite. Everything is great. I was hoping like, can we also include what are the upcoming meetings? I think you did, I think last time or so for the next couple of months. That way we can plan to attend. Thank you.
If you can go to the next slide. So the concern in January, I mean, December is great. We got through whatever without lasting impact. That's fantastic. So the risk really is that it's going to be extremely cold. Will there be any kind of a wind or something that may knock the power out or any such
No,
concerns?
right now we have a cold advisory. And
That's it. Okay, good. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's not good if you don't want to turn on your heat, but it is what it is.
I
Okay,
think there is a very detailed email. I've just looking
Okay.
at. It's pretty good, yeah.
okay, then I'm not on that. Or I didn't
Okay.
get, I didn't look at
Maybe
it.
We'll figure out how to.
Okay,
Get
I'll
you
get
out of
used
the
to that, okay. And then the last one, so what, I may be ignorant here, what is West Santa Clara Landscape Resiliency Project?
yeah, so that is I believe they're a nonprofit, but they're working with the jurisdictions of the cities and then also with CAL FIRE and the fire departments. But if you remember the fire hazard zones, so what they are doing is they've taken those zones and are looking at what can be done specifically in West Santa Clara County to reduce those hazard levels. So for the city of Cupertino, in terms of land that the city owns, what was designated was McClellan Ranch and Blackberry Farm. So for example, part of what they were looking into is first identifying what environment that is. We have some grassland, we have some hardwood, not quite forest, but hardwood stands. And we also in Blackberry, we have the golf course. So then it's looking at practical things that we can do without destroying, right, our public lands. And being very careful with CEQA, that's actually what a lot of it is, to address the concerns that, okay, let's take a look at, say, McClellan Ranch, and can we get goats to chew down some of the grass? Is that feasible right now? Right now, we're not locked into anything. We have not, the city has not, has guaranteed any action or money because right now they are still looking at what is at the very practical granular level, what can landowners do to reduce their fire hazard? I can't speak as much to the private landowner side, but there was a discussion about, working with HOAs. Because I don't know if you all are aware, but HOAs are not owned by the city. We don't own that property. So taking a look at what HOAs are able to do in their specific area. And the same thing of looking at, okay, if say we wanted to address this field, what actually is the most practical thing for us to do? And then part of what the project is that they are creating a checklist for whoever has the project. That, okay, you're in Cupertino. Well, we've confirmed with Cupertino that this is the permit you will need to remove a tree. Or
Wait, they are involved with removing trees?
no, so they will make recommendations.
Huh?
But if say their recommendation is the trees in this area are very close together and that increases the fire hazard, then they're not ordering the removal of trees, but they're saying to reduce the fire hazard of this area, your best option,
Is remove the tree, okay.
not all of them, not all of them,
That's
because
true.
that's another part of their checklist and it's looking at, okay, we have CEQA. How do we then address our risk while still following CEQA, while still respecting our environment? One of the contingencies is, for example, if you sign on to one of their projects, you have to make sure that if there's a protected species, that you are not destroying a protected species in the name of reducing fire hazard. And that is one of the things that I I don't have time, right, to look into what exactly that entails. So we've been very fortunate that this project exists outside of the jurisdiction that they can come to us and say, hey, this is what we're recommending you can do, and this is what we're recommending as the best way to do that. If we did take on part of the project as the city, we would still have the autonomy, right, to at the end of the day say, okay, you've given us the three options, we're going to pick option A as how we will reduce fire risk or rebuild from fire if that happens. But it really is a group of people saying, okay, you don't have time to look into this as deeply as it needs to be looked into. Can you check in with us on a regular basis and make sure that what we're doing actually makes sense for the cities, for the county, for state?
So right now Cupertino is working with this resiliency project on
Right.
specifically two areas?
No, right now, the city's involvement is I am looking at the draft of their project. And I can make suggestions that will then go to the city manager before we go in. But right now, what I'm looking at is double checking with our city arborists that the permits about trees are correct. That they're not accidentally giving false information. If someone were to take on this project.
So they have decided that they will go through, what is that, McClellan Ranch and whatever, and they've come up with, here's what we want to remove, or we
No.
want.
So what at the end of the day, this is they are saying, City of Cupertino, if you want to lower the fire hazard risk in this particular area, these are what we recommend. And here is a checklist that we have already made for you to make sure that you're still CEQA compliant and that you're
So they gave us that checklist now, or
Yeah.
they will give it to us?
they will give it to us if we request it. So there is no.
So what is involved with requesting it?
I believe that would be planning manager and council.
That's fine, but is there money involved, or is that just it's a nonprofit, so they're just doing it as a social service?
No, so what they're doing is giving the recommendations. They don't do the actual work. That would be the city.
No, the city will do the work, I understand that, but to give you those recommendations, are they gonna charge us something from the city?
No.
Or you don't know that?
No, right now, the only involvement that the city has is just that I am giving suggestions and feedback. We do not have any financial obligation. We do not have any actions that we are.
I get that.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, they have not given us any recommendation,
Not yet.
but you are saying, here is what the arborists have said, are the trees that require permits if you want to remove. Is that what you're doing?
So when I talk about the checklist, right now, what is happening is they have given us a draft of the checklist
Okay,
and are saying, hey, city of Cupertino, we've put, this is the permit you need to do this, this, and this.
mhm.
Can you please confirm
Okay.
that that is the case?
So they have, that's my question to start with, they have given us a checklist, but that's a draft of the checklist,
Yeah.
okay? That's what I wanted to understand.
Okay.
And that did not cost us anything
No.
yet. Is it yet, or is it not gonna cost us?
If we choose to take on one of the projects and implement it, then
That's up to us,
yes,
but for the checklist itself, we're not.
we are not paying
Getting
it.
charged, okay, that was my question with that, okay. And then with regard to the flock cameras,
Mhm.
you were. What's your involvement, what's the city's involvement with you? I said, when we say city, it's unfortunately just you at this point, right, for the public safety?
Well, in this one, I'm very lucky because I have our innovation and technology team as well.
Okay,
But it's because it's a safety concern, I'm looking into and liaising with the sheriff's office. On right now, what exactly did we agree to with Flock? And do they have the protections for our data that we need them to? So right now, innovation and technology are looking into, is our data secure? Is everything a closed loop? But there's also, the sheriff's office that will have to have conversations about if worst case scenario, our information is not safe, what would our next steps be?
all right. Thank you so much. Sorry for being so detailed, but I just did not understand this part of it at all, so kind of dug in.
Any public comment on this?
We have one hand raised on Zoom, Vice Chair. One moment. Welcome, Sam Rao.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I am quite alarmed by the discussion about tree foliage reduction or tree reduction. This in particular on the hillside should be done with extreme caution. I know when you think hillsides, you probably think the county, but we have a fair amount of Inspiration Heights, Creston, Monta Vista South, Fregnot Canyon, and many other neighborhoods that are in hillsides. And so I'm extremely concerned about any attempt to reduce trees in the name of fire safety, because it is a delicate balance between the soil stability and erosion prevention versus any sort of fire prevention. So while we do need some tree thinning, tree removal goes the other extreme and causes quite a bit of hillside instability. So very, very concerned about that. Given the nature of this item, I'm urging you to consider agendizing these items and also recommend that this go on the agenda for City Council. This is something that most residents are totally unaware of. So we just need to not leave this to staff discretion. And this should not be an item that is decided at the city manager's level or the city manager's office level. This should be going to council, and this should be coming to Public Safety Commission. And please do not remove trees where we can avoid it. Tree thinning is okay, but not tree removal. I know we've for whatever reason we've got a penchant for tree removal in our city. When we have new projects on Stevens Creek, we seem to be asking applicants to remove trees on Stevens Creek and replant new trees. When we did the Memorial Park study plan, the recommendation came back that 65% of the trees would be removed in Memorial Park. So it confuses me why we do so much tree removal in Cupertino. Similarly, when we did the sidewalk refresh, areas where there was a sidewalk refresh, trees were removed. And really, we need an inventory of how many trees we remove and why. And we need a hearing before they're removed. I'd also love to see us add the redwood trees into the protected tree list. We have too many cases of new homeowners coming in and removing trees as the first act that they do. And the redwood trees in particular, we need to protect. We protect the oak trees, but we don't protect the redwood trees. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no hands raised on Zoom and no speakers in person.
All right. Well, yeah, so we can move on to the next item.
Okay, commissioner reports. Anyone
Did anything public safety related or
saw something or had conversations?
I missed this particular presentation, but there was one by the Cupertino Library Foundation on fire hazards. Just the fact that, Cupertino and what's going on, and next time I hear of that, I will set something up. They had one in December, it was very well attended, the fire department and the CERT had also participated in that, and they come in to say, how are the fire maps created. That's very useful information, I think. So going forward, we need to kind of make sure that we get that. There's going to be follow-ons to that. It'll be very interesting, I think, for the commission in general, and maybe even the city to participate.
I was in attendance at that and it was recorded. I don't know if it's available publicly or not.
Yeah, I think it will be put, it was recorded, but the recording may or may not have been fully done well. I think it will be up on the website, but it's I heard it was very well attended. I was out of the country.
Yeah, over the holiday season, I was writing my friends or family who are from the county. I was trying to put or I was trying to get them to register for Alert SCC, and I think pretty much across the board, from younger folks to older folks, people just felt it was unnecessarily difficult. The actual form, it's one more password to remember, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm sure we'll dig our claws into this this year. For sure. So it's just interesting anecdotal evidence. So it's not just older folks who find it irritating. It's even people you would expect to be very sad.
There,
Yeah. So.
I was in attendance at the Lawson Art Open House.
Mm-hmm.
It was fairly well attended. I think there were probably 8 people have come through.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, we detailed basically how to open an art, and what's required, with cares and etc. And we do have a monthly GMRS/ham radio check the 4th Saturday at 3:30. So you can report into your specific zones wherever you all live. Yes.
Okay.
Just throwing that in. Yeah.
No, that's very useful to know.
Yeah, I think the only email thread I was talking earlier, especially to increase the alert SCC awareness, I sent a couple of emails to Library Commission, but I haven't received any response. So I need to figure out, maybe I attend one of the meeting.
I think the Library Commission focuses on what goes into the library and stuff like that. They're not very involved beyond the library?
So my idea was, my request is very specific to put the awareness or QR code on the display.
Okay, so
That's
then
all.
that you can just directly send it to the librarian, Brian Bao, I'll give you his contact information. He will put a lot of things, so you don't need the commission for that. The commission's not involved at all, what goes on the display, but Brian will.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's all for commission reports.
Okay, future agenda setting?
So.
We've got many topics.
And so the thing is, because we don't currently have a chair and the election will be at the next meeting, every potential topic will need not a full vote, but just a motion to add it.
Alright. I guess we can have one item, which is like, maybe we can each try to come up with, like think about a way to increase alert SEC registration, and then we just kind of report back, see what we want to implement.
So that's already there in the agenda, it will be automatically included,
Oh, okay.
right? I mean, did I get that correctly?
I mean,
The work items,
yeah.
the work list.
Yeah, but I think this is like specifically the next meetings is
Yes.
agenda items.
Yes,
So we can have one for that, and then we should have another agenda item for some of the specific issues that were mentioned by Mr. Rao today. So we can have like an issue on, or an agenda item on
The tree
The
removal.
red light.
or I guess the first one would be like the red light cameras and speeding cameras. So maybe if we could get like someone to speak on like the viability of that, whether the city has considered that before.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second for first the?
Oh, yeah, okay, so yeah, motion to have the like precursor ideas on alert SEC registration as an agenda item.
Second.
Okay, and then a motion and a second to add the red light and speeding cameras.
so what exactly are we adding onto the agenda?
So I guess we'd wanna understand like what the city's like perspective is on those cameras, like have they considered adding them before? That kind of thing.
So when we say city, that's Martha's going to go back and check with who?
I believe that would be our transit team.
Okay, and not the chick.
It would start with transportation. And then we could involve TIC, but if you're saying who of city staff, it would be the transportation.
And not I'm sorry, not tech, I meant IT department, because they would have had requests for, cameras, and have they done any analysis on that? Are they looking at it? Has anybody mentioned it to them? We get that information as well?
Okay.
Because transportation may come back and say, no, and then what happens to the report? Right, I mean,
Or yeah, so I guess like maybe the way to think about it is like to work backwards, so it's like at the next meeting, like presumably the decision that we wanna make is like whether or not we wanna like recommend to council whether there should be like more red light cameras or speeding cameras.
yeah.
And so what would be helpful is like the necessary like personnel who could like help us or educate us on that issue so that we can
That's
make the recommendation.
good, because that makes more sense to me. It's like otherwise, it was like, what is the agenda item?
Yeah, so I guess,
So can we get like what are the current metrics on the
Yes.
traffic enforcement, right?
Right.
And then what are the improvements?
Yeah.
What we are looking, right?
and I think
Yeah.
specifically like Mr. Rao mentioned how there's like a pilot program, I think, happening in the state. I think, and I guess we would have to like understand like like what like what's required of the city, what's required of like the government of Cupertino in order to like take part in this pilot what are like other cities doing that have implemented speeding cameras, red light cameras, how much does it cost? Like, I guess we would need to know that info, and then based on that, we can like decide what to recommend to council essentially.
So the agenda has to, so just to reiterate, so what we're looking for is somebody who can give us that information of what it takes for us to be part of the pilot. What has the county or the state figured out so far as the speeding and the red light cameras? So those are the two critical pieces of information, otherwise that agenda item doesn't have value.
Yeah, I guess there's, maybe to like summarize, so there's like three specific things I think
Okay.
that are like needed. So so this agenda item could be considered like information on the speeding and red light cameras. And like, it would basically need three things, right? So like, first would be like, what are the tools like at a city like Cupertino's disposal for the
Mhm.
problem that Mr. Rao mentioned? Like,
Mhm.
are there different, like I remember with Flock, there were like different types of cameras.
Mhm,
So like, what are the types of tools that other cities are using?
mhm.
And then the second step would be like, has the city or the county evaluated these tools and cameras before? And then number three would be like any metrics, like what's going on in the cities that have implemented it? Has it reduced the violations? And I think Mr. Rao was mentioning like like he was mentioning like the downstream effect of all of this was like traffic. So like it would be interesting to know like what the correlation or like whether there's any connection there. So I think all these things would require like quite a bit of information to be gathered.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. It's a very good topic to be actually the information that we need. The question is, are we noting down that the agenda should be, not just a transportation report from transportation, but really a detailed report mentioning all of the items that was just, so I don't know if you've noted down the three, okay.
All right, okay, cool.
So then we have to make a motion now.
Yeah, okay, so motion to include the red light camera and speeding camera information to the agenda.
With specifics on,
Yeah, with all the information necessary for us to make a decision on what to recommend council.
Second.
One second.
Anything else for future agenda items?
the,
Guess the tree removal thing, yeah.
actually, I mean, the tree removal part, I think that was misunderstood. I think what the issue is that this particular resiliency project, if I understand it right, is just giving you a checklist of what needs to be fixed. Now, whether the tree gets removed or not, from the city's perspective, is whether they require a permit to remove that tree or not. And that is specific.
So the checklist is if you choose to take on a project, say, reducing the fire risk or fire hazard risk at Blackberry.
The checklist is, here is how to comply with CEQA. Here is how to, make sure that all the permits are correct. Here is how to, I don't believe it would be the case in Cupertino, but work with native tribes to make sure that the, cultural needs are being met. Here is, how to make sure that you're not disturbing any, native species. So
So this is specific though to a Clydeland Ranch and golf course area.
No, so the checklist is just anyone who's doing these projects, this is what you need to do. In terms of making sure that the project is done in accordance with the Muni Code, with the laws of California, with
The fire and everything else, okay. So can we actually, so that checklist then has to be accepted by the city before it gets implemented, like some private owner who has like 3 3 acres or 30 acres on the hill cannot just randomly decide he wants to remove some trees.
So the checklist is. Here are the laws and regulations. This is how to comply with. That's all it is. It's not, you must do this, this, and this. It's, hey, it's really hard to research exactly how to comply with CEQA or the Endangered Species Act or the
Something
Clean
else,
Water
yeah.
Act. So we've done that for you, and here's what you need to do in order to stay compliant.
Okay, so right now there is nobody removing trees as far as.
No.
Okay,
Alright. I guess it's a good, it's good.
that's my understanding
Yeah.
of it.
So.
But there is the possibility that under fire protection, there may be areas where the trees will be removed. So the action item would be, in my opinion, the agenda item should be, is there any implementation plan for the hills?
That includes the tree removal.
Includes, fire mitigation plan. And if there is, what is it? Because that may involve tree removal, that may just involve getting rid of the grass, there may be many things.
So I think the tree removal is very concerning, right? So I'm not sure if we can get some metrics like how many trees were removed.
Okay, you guys are really focused on the tree removal. They have in there of, these are the kinds of trees to remove, the dead, diseased trees are going away. Within that, in order to keep habitats, they're not taking out all the trees.
Yeah, that's my understanding too, that they're not removing any trees right now, they're not recommending.
No, I say tree removal because it's kind of the simplest one to understand, but there's also oh gosh, what's the word? Pruning trees. So it's not that if they say, hey, there's a lot of trees in this area, it is not immediately X number of trees must be cut down. It's how do we retain this environment? How do we make sure that the environment is healthy and resilient? That might be checking if all the trees are alive and not diseased. It might be going through and making sure that you don't have a bunch of branches that are getting caught up in each other. So
It's a very involved topic, basically. And so I think simplifying it to tree removal is.
yeah, that was not well worded of me. I apologize.
Or, yeah, I was just thinking like, maybe we can first add like the agenda item, like maybe get the jump on one of the other work plans, like maybe. Regarding the second item, which is the.
Before that,
Oh, yeah.
The agenda item was implementation. If any implementation of tree removal is being planned in the hills.
I think, and also Memorial Park, that was one of the points.
No. That the agenda item was not the tree removal part.
Okay.
The agenda item is. What are the fire mitigation plans or plans that the city has for the hills? Now, whether Memorial Park has trees removed or not, does that even come under our jurisdiction? Because we talk about safety and fire. It really should be Parks and Rec. How many trees are removed from Memorial Park?
We would need to double check if those are HOAs. Because if they're HOAs, then the city is not involved.
So HOAs can do what they want within their HOA, within their.
HOAs own their own land, yeah. They're part of the city, but if there's road that needs to be repaired, my understanding is it is not only up to the city. My understanding, and I can double check this, is that it would be a process with the HOA. So most of our roads are public and they belong to the city. In an HOA, the property is private, is my understanding. I can double check that.
So yeah, I'm interested in knowing what the fire hazard mitigation plan is for the hills and the surrounding areas, because, you know, it only takes one little fire, West Hills, entire Cupertino can go, just like the other cities in Southern California. Now, if part of that mitigation plan is to just remove all the trees in the way, then that's a real concern, but I doubt that there'll be something so stupid as that.
Right,
So can I have a
So-
motion to add that?
The motion.
I guess
is-
the, like, motion to,
We can just do motion to add
yeah,
that.
motion to add that.
Okay. And a second?
Yes, second.
All right.
I'm not clear on the motion.
The motion is to figure out what the fire mitigation plans are for the hills of Cupertino.
Okay. Fire mitigation.
What happens if there's a fire? What is your plan? Besides calling the fire department and putting it out, do you have anything set up right now saying, hey, you plant more of these type of fire resistant tree, plants, or, what do you do? What is the city doing? If you don't have one, then is it time for us to come up with one? What's happening?
Okay, also with the same comment on the tree removal, can we write an email to public parks and recreation about the tree removal? I think that was mentioned.
As an
earlier.
individual, we can. As a commission, I don't believe it's in our jurisdiction to say parks and removing trees in Memorial Park is our issue or not.
And then, yeah, I guess maybe like agenda item for,
I do need a second.
oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
I thought you not.
I thought we intended,
After that, I asked for clarification.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess like also agenda item, for each of us to probably like do a little bit of research, come back with ideas, regarding the second item on the work plan. So that would be like, like fraud, how we can kind of, help educate the public regarding this new class of problems. And then it would also be helpful to get any insight from like law enforcement for the city, like if there have been any like kind of like rise in like deep fake cases or like harassment.
so
like
I'll
that
tell
kind
you
of
what,
stuff.
we'll all nod our heads here and go back and they'll come back with maybe one line. So what's the specific action item you want me to do between now and 2 months
Yeah,
to say, here's my contribution to the research?
yeah, I guess like it would, I think it would literally just be like two interesting ideas you think would be helpful for like, so I guess the research would include us doing research on what are the problems that are emerging
Mhm.
to public safety from these new technologies. And then based on that research, if we can each come back with two like tangible, specific ideas for that each of us think could be helpful, then we can deliberate, hear from what the city and what law enforcement has been seeing on their end, and then we can have like a concrete plan for what we want to do.
Okay.
That work.
So what I'm hearing is you're assigning all members of the commission the task to research and come back with two concrete recommendations. The agenda item would be a presentation or a discussion with the information and technology, with the sheriff's office, and each commissioner to discuss what they.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess like the objective of that would like at the next meeting, based on all that information, based on all those ideas, we would then work to figure out what we want to actually implement and push out into like all the various channels and stuff like that to actually carry out the ideas that we like. Yeah, so yeah, motion to add that to the agenda.
Second?
Second.
Uh,
I think that's 4 items on the.
Yeah. or item,
And just in the future, can we have the fire chief and the sheriff's office do their report for
Oh, yeah,
us?
that's a good-
Because we are otherwise, I mean, we can go on for hours and the poor guy is waiting to make his report. And it's a torture for them.
Okay, I will double check with the city clerk. Worst case scenario, we would just have it like we did today, where any postponements we were.
And he seemed so relieved to leave today. He doesn't need to have, sit through all of this, but,
Any other items or?
I think for now,
I think we
Yeah,
have
we've
enough.
got four
Yeah,
agenda
So, yeah,
items.
so it's like, yeah, I think we hit like the top three basically, and then plus the fire
Mhm.
plan. So, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I guess we're done with the agenda setting.
Okay. Call the meeting to a close.
Oh, yeah. All right, yeah. I call the meeting to close at 7:59.